Hey, what's up, guys? It's Art Book Addiction here, and we're here to talk about the new Cowboy Bebop live action TV show on Netflix, right? Yeah, spoiler warning, it's not very good, okay? But you know, it does things better than I was expecting, but also does things not very good as we were kind of just expecting in general, right? Just from seeing the clips and stuff. But yeah, I I just watched the first episode, and like I said, it's worse in a way that I wasn't really expecting, right? So first off, so basically the episode is basically the first episode of the anime, right? Following the drug dealer, or the guy who stole the red eye from the syndicate, and he has like the female with him, right? Who, like, it's very, very tragic and all that stuff, right? Except that their execution was really, really bad, right? So the first thing that I really noticed about this show, besides, like, obviously the actors and stuff, is they do way too many Dutch angles, right? Like, they're trying to make it like whoa, like super dynamic, right? Like whoa, every shot is like it has like this crazy composition, and like it really messes up with the flow of the show, right? Like, it doesn't feel very grounded. You know what I mean? Like, I understand using a Dutch angle for like a more dynamic shot, but if you spam the Dutch angle all the time, it just, like, I don't know, it feels very, like, as people have been talking about it, like, very cartoony, right? Very cartoony. But it's also like, I don't know, like, you should just save those shots. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, like, every shot I feel like I'm like whoa, like I gotta, like, it just doesn't feel right. You know what I mean? Like, Dutch angles are really good for, like, making a scene have, like, some gravity to it, like it flows to one side or the other, right? It shows, like, the disorientation of the character's mind sometimes, right? But in this case, they're just trying to use it to be like, almost like, oh, we're Edgar Wright, you know what I mean? Except Edgar Wright knows how to, do cinematography correctly, right? So that's kind of my first complaint with the live action. It's just like, hey man, stop, like, too many Dutch angles, man. Too, like, it's, everything is just like skewed, and it just makes it feel weird, right? One thing that was actually good was Jet Black, right? I actually think that he did the character very well, and his voice is almost just like the character, right? It's actually kind of surprising how well Jet Black, or the actor who plays Jet Black, portrayed the character, right? Like, his voice was on point, his mannerisms was on point. The what do you call it? The prosthetics actually look pretty good. Hey, that's one thing that I do want to give the show. Like, the props, right? The like I said, the makeup, not the makeup, but the prosthetics on Jet, and just the way, like, some of the background stuff looks, and the CGI looks great. You know what I mean? Like surprisingly, like, if anything was to look good, I was not expecting the CGI to look good, but not so bad. However, like, I think it's just, honestly, it's the directing. It's the directing and the writing and the pacing, right? Like, so, unlike the original show, right? This episode starts with, like, this, like, casino heist, right? And it's like kind of trying to show off, like, Spike and Jet, right? But, like, it's so cartoony, right? Like, the tone is off. Like, that's obviously, that is the main detractor from the show versus, like, sorry, the live action show versus the anime, right? Like, that's the main detractor, right? It's the tone. The tone is completely off, right? It feels very cartoony, like in a way that the anime doesn't. You know what I mean? The anime, like, though it has humor, right, and though it has like, you know, bombastic kind of characters, it doesn't feel like Saturday morning cartoon characters, right? Like, I guess that's the way to talk about it, right? Because there's this character, their first bounty of the show, where he's like talking about like, yeah, the rich dude. I worked at a casino, and they fired me because I stabbed the pit boss in the eye. Can you believe that? And it's like yeah, like of course you'd get fired for that. You know what I mean? Like it feels so like weird, you know, like he's trying to proclaim this like crazy, like, you know, like manifesto, while also being like yeah, but then the corporations, dude, they should have allowed me to keep my job, you know. And I'm like, no, that's dumb, right? That's stupid, right? And it's like that for the rest of the show, right? Or not the rest of the show, but I haven't seen the rest of the show, but the first episode, where it's like a weird like parody of the original show, because there's a lot of like little callbacks to the anime, right? But like it's poorly executed, right? Like for example, the bell peppers scene, right? So like when they have they just put it in there as like an Easter egg, right? But like the reason the bell pepper scene is effective and why people remember it is because it illustrates that, like, hey, these guys, they're poor, right? They don't make that much. They can't afford beef, right? They have to spend the rest of the money chasing the bounties, right? And usually they don't even get the money anyway, right? Because of damages. But like I said, it's just the execution of that, right? So in the live action, they're just like, dude, eat your bell peppers, you know, like, okay, right? It doesn't really, it's like, why are they eating bell peppers? You know what I mean? Spike doesn't complain about the lack of beef, right? Or anything like that. It's like, the dialogue is very, very joke heavy, right? Very like every time they talk, you're expecting like, hey, where's the quip? Where's the quip? You know, like, hey, dude, where's the little joke, right? It doesn't feel like real people, right? Which is, you know, the anime, it does feel real. You know what I mean? Like the tone of it, like, and like the characters, they, like, if there's something that's funny that's happened, it's not because one of them said a funny line, right? It's just because, like, situationally it's funny, right? Or if someone said like I could tell. The thing is, I could tell that the people who made this, right, they appreciate the show. They like the show. They just don't really understand what made the show good, right? It's kind of like an aesthetic, like oh, we're gonna take the aesthetic and we're gonna try to replicate that, but like poorly, right? And it's just like, it'd be one thing if it was like trying to do its own thing, you know what I mean? But this is basically just like, honestly, if they did a copy paste, it would have been way better. It would have been way better. It's like a weird, like I said, in my previous video, this is like a fan made thing, right? This feels like a really high budget fan made parody. You know what I mean? And this is like something you'd see like oh, like it's one episode, right? Like one YouTube video, but this is like, you know, all across the entire thing, right? And it's just like, it just feels like everyone's like in cosplay and like trying to be the character, right? And okay, let's get on that. So how do the actors portray the characters? Spike, he's not as bad as I thought, right? But he's not very good either. He, like, when I see him, I don't read him as Spike, right? And like, kind of like in a weird way, right? Like, I feel like he's not casual enough, right? He doesn't have that air of like coolness, right, and like kind of relaxedness. You know what I mean? Which is, you know, what we already knew about that, because John Cho doesn't really portray him very well. He portrays him very you know, like edgy, right? And it's, I don't know. It just it's fine. It's fine, but I don't see Spike, right? Like with Jet, I'm like, oh, that's Jet, right? And with Spike, I'm like, oh, that's just a cosplayer playing Spike, right? Hold on, Spike. There you go. Okay. Faye, terrible. Okay, Faye, she's just no good. Okay, like, I don't know. I really did not like her performance, right? Yeah, and like, again, she's very joke heavy, right? Which I feel like in the anime, like, you don't really see it. Like she's funny in the fact that she like she gets irritated at situations, or like something happens and like it doesn't go her way, and that's the funny part. You know what I mean? Because she's like, oh, I'm trying to do this thing and it completely goes like off the rails, right? But like, I don't like her actress. Like, I don't really have a problem with her, right? I think like she could look like Faye. You know what I mean? It just, like, she doesn't portray her very well, right? Her mannerisms, her attitude. You know what I mean? She doesn't come off as like a femme fatale, right? Which is kind of Faye's like entire like character. You know what I mean? And like I said, dude, the execution of the episode was just off, right? So let's talk about the actual story, right? So obviously, so like we have the casino thing, and then we have the plot line from the first episode of the anime, right? Which is, you know, the guy with the red eye, you know what I mean? And that the red eye was done really poorly, right? In the original, I feel like it really showed like the effects of red eye, you know what I mean, really well. And it's like oh, and it's like this kind of like weird slow motion, and you get this first person view where he's like, you know, destroying everyone and like, you know, ignoring all the pain, you know what I mean? They try to do it in this one, but like they didn't. Like, it's weird because like for so many parts of the other show, they like change like the filter and like, you know, right? But for this one, it was just like this like GoPro with like a red filter on it, and like that's like okay, but like they didn't do the slow motion or the like extreme blurring, right, to show like oh, he's under the effects of these things. It's just a red filter, you know what I mean? And like oh, he's stronger now, right? It just really like I said, so it's just an example of another example of just weak direction, you know what I mean? And again, because they're trying to emulate the anime, all you can do in your mind is just keep drawing comparisons, and you just keep drawing those comparisons. Like, oh, well, they did that wrong, they did this wrong, they did that wrong, right? And you know, I'm someone who's very open to like different adaptations, you know what I mean? Maybe except for live action, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's obvious, right? But I'm open to this show. You know, it's not like I want to hate it. You know what I mean? I'm like, like I said, I was very surprised at some of the things that were good, and some but I'm telling you, dude, the overall package is not good, dude. The direction is just bad, right? So like I said, with the story, they're following the couple, right? And honestly, they should have started with that, right? They should have started with that, where they're following the couple, they're setting up the scenes, they're setting up the guy to be like whoa, this crazy guy who's got the red eye, and he's going nuts and he's causing chaos, you know what I mean? Like, they should have started with that, and then like, okay, now we're introduced to the bounty in which Spike and Jet are gonna capture him. And Faye, she just shouldn't have been in this episode, right? They just kind of just crammed her in, you know what I mean? So it feels very forced. So like, they were trying to set up the same kind of powerful moment at the end of the show. Oh, sorry, the end of the show. The end of the episode, where they have, the woman who, she tragically dies and realizing that she has nothing left. You know what I mean? And then you see the scene where the cops, blast her, and then it's just her, and you see all the red eye floating in space, right? And they tried it. They tried to go for it, but it was just so poorly done. Okay, right? There wasn't. Okay, so in the original, you had all the crazy shit, and then the police started chasing them, right? And then they're like, okay, well, we gotta go to Mars, right? It's in a last act of desperation, right? And what do you call it? They're fleeing the cops, and the woman realizes that they have no other option. They're done, right? They're gone, right? And the guy's bleeding out. He's about to die, right? And in the original, she herself decides to end it, right? She shoots him, right? And what do you call it? It's almost on autopilot, where she just kind of accepts her fate, right? And then boo, she gets shot up, right? But they don't really show that. They just kind of show her body floating, right? And it's in a way it's more tragic, you know what I mean? Because in the show they show her getting and it's in a way kind of silly, you know what I mean? It looks sillier on screen, you know what I mean? And they try to show that tragic moment between Spike and this woman, because there was a little bit of a familiarity, a connection between the two, right? He felt sorry for her, right? But in the live action, they just really, really messed it up. They didn't set it up well, right? Because there isn't that through line to the episode, right? Where it's you're following the couple, you're learning their story, right? And you're seeing the tragic end of that story, you know what I mean? And then Spike is there to witness it, you know what I mean? As and this kind of shows it's supposed to show what kind of world this is, right? What kind of world that Spike and Jet live in, you know what I mean? Where tragedy and what do you call it? And criminals that have those tragic stories, right? They need to be seen too, you know what I mean? Because Spike and Jet are the same way. They're kind of damaged people who have they've done their own bad things, you know what I mean? So it's it's one of those things where it's if they made the different choices, maybe they could have ended up alive, but they didn't, you know what I mean? And there's that tragedy of and Spike knowing that, in himself, right? But in this one, it's just Spike tries to talk her down in the scene. They shouldn't have done that. They should have just had it removed where Spike just witnesses it, right? And he just sees this moment and he feels it for himself, you know what I mean? But in this one, he's trying to no, stop, dude, don't go to the cop, don't just run into the cops where they're gonna shoot you, you know what I mean? That's another thing. In the original, the cops were chasing her, right? They were done, you know what I mean? In this one, she's going up into the little transporter, right? And they're hey, stop going here, or we're gonna shoot you. And it's she could have easily just stopped the ship, you know what I mean? Or just it's okay, well, it's not she was being chased, you know what I mean? So again, it's in the original, they lose the bounty, then you get money, and there's a tragic story, right? In this one, they they lose the bounty, and it's just and she just dies, and they show the scene, right? Again, it's a lot of we know the show, we know the things that make the show great, but we don't know how to execute the same tone and the same level of plot, right? Yeah, it's not as bad as I thought. Like I said, the props and stuff, the CGI, actually pretty good. The sets, they're okay. I just think that the show would have been helped immensely if they didn't do all these crazy Dutch angles. They didn't put all these crazy filters on, and they took the time to really explore the story more, right? Like despite there being like so much stuff that happens in this episode, it feels very disjointed, right? It doesn't feel like there's this really like okay, we're focusing on this story, you know what I mean? And like Spike and Jet are like kind of there to like take you on that ride, you know what I mean? It feels more like a CW show, right? Where they're like trying to like hey, you know, like it's just all these different elements from the show. They like, oh, we'll put Faye in there too, you know, like, oh, why not? Oh, kung fu fights, you know what I mean? It's just it's weak, you know what I mean? It's not as strong as the original, and like the fact that they follow the same storylines only shows the weakness even more. Okay. But yeah, I think we could end that here, guys. Please, if you enjoyed the video, hit that like, hit that subscribe. Check out my Prince Patreon if you want to support the channel. And let me know how you guys feel about the first episode. I was kind of disappointed, but I think that was expected, right? Thanks for watching the video. I'll see you on the next one.